What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into the Fantastic Four issue number 5. What we had seen most recently is the Baxter building being attacked by a horde of invaders. These invaders coming from the negative zone. Mr. Fantastic was forced to take drastic measures. He put the Baxter building and surrounding city block into a temporal pocket for protection. Everyone contained within inside reappears safe and sound, but it will be 1 year's time. Among the displaced is all the Fantastic Four children, and though the Fantastic Four had broken up temporarily, we find them back together, back on the road, and facing some new adventures. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, make sure that you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up right into the fray. The Fantastic Four had been driving down the road, only to find that they were in a huge traffic jam. This traffic jam is caused by none other than Nicholas Scratch, aka Supreme Warlock, letting the Fantastic Four know that it is finally time for them to die, that they will perish at the hands of the Supreme Warlock. Alongside him, he has the Salem'S 7, and so the Fantastic Four jumps into action. Reed Richards being one that hate magic, but that doesn't stop them in the slightest. As the four battle against the 7, they try to ask Scratch what he wants. What is the purpose to all of this? And the Supreme Warlock, he wants his children to see. He wants them to see when their father finally gets his revenge. This is where the Fantastic Four are lifted up into the sky, and Scratch, he begins to spin them. He twists them, he turns them. Nobody can do anything. Not even Sue Richards is able to get targeting on him. But as quickly as they go up into the air, he drops them down to the ground. When they ask if that is all you got, Scratch says, as a matter of fact, yes. He opens up a portal, and him and his 7, they walk into the dark dimension without any resistance. And so obviously the Fantastic Four is a little bit confused on what just happened. He walked away as if he had won, but the Fantastic Four, they feel fine. But they do feel a little hungry. So that picks us up a little bit later at a fast food joint. The team sitting down to have some lunch. That's when all of their stomachs start to gurgle. All 4 of them running at the same exact time for the bathroom. When they come out, we find out that Reed Richards has figured out what happened to them. Now, Scratch had acted as if he won. Reed Richards is taking this as fact. He has to assume that he won in some way, shape, or form, magically distorting them into some kind of victory. But when it's dealing with magic, you can't use reasoning. So he tried reasoning without magic, treating it strictly scientifically. He thinks that maybe this wasn't some kind of spell, but this was Scratch's access to an alternate dimension. And Reed goes on to explain that we conceive dimensions as realms, but they are technically higher planes of space and time, ones that we can't normally access. This is where he got his theory that might fit the facts. He believes Scratch had found a way to use the dark dimension to access not just 3 spectral dimensions, but a 4th and higher one. And then they were rotated through that 4th dimension. And so while technically they are the same, at least at the macro level, but when they were rotated across the dimension, one that they cannot even access, this reversed the hardiness of the DNA, of RNA, and amino acids. This is a mirror life. The molecules essential for life can be built one of 2 ways, each a reflection of the other. However, all life that they have encountered is built using only one of them. Proteins using only left-handed amino acids, DNA only right-handed sugars. And while everything that they have shows that the mirror molecules would work identically, they have never been found. It has been entirely hypothetical forms of life up until this point, until the Fantastic Four. The catch is that these function identically only when combined with similar mirror molecules. The problem with this is that there aren't any, not anywhere. Right now, the 4 of them, they are fundamentally incompatible with their universe. Air and water are not affected, but they are not able to extract any kind of nutrients from anything. Within a month, maybe 2, the Fantastic Four will die. But of course, Reed Richards always has some trick up his sleeve. That's when they head over to the Fantastic Car. They just need to be able to access the same higher dimension, and then they can go to that dimension. They can try and figure out how to rotate themselves and get them back to normal. And while the Fantastic Car isn't something that usually travels between dimensions, it does record a full scan of the EM spectrum around it. It can play it back, so they can play back when Scratch had come from the Dark Dimension. This will allow them to open up a portal to the Dark Dimension. Without hesitation, the Fantastic Four jump through. When they get in, they don't see the Salem 7, nor do they see Scratch. They must have moved on, but that does not mean that there are not enemies here. They have landed right into a nest of demons. And so the Fantastic Four, they have their hands full as soon as they walk through the door. Recognizing that they are heavily outnumbered, they tell Reed Richards to do what he needs to do before it is too late. And Reed knows that this dimension is an illusion. It is his brain interpreting what it sees in the normal 3-dimensional space. He must find a way to not only see 4-dimensionally, but also push himself through that unfamiliar, unintuitive region of space and time. This is something that is borderline impossible, but borderline impossible is still very possible for Reed Richards. And so in the middle of this hellish battle, a man redirects his entire being towards his limits, and he stretches them. We see Reed Richards spinning, twisting, turning, grabbing the Fantastic Four, and he is doing exactly what needs to be done. But in doing so, this left him in a very weakened state, with Sue grabbing hold of him. They hurry, they hightail it up to the portal, and they close it off before any demons can come through. The only thing that does is a demon hand that is cut off when the portal closes. And as soon as they get through, Reed lets Johnny know that he's gotta burn off all the moisture that is on Ben, getting as close to the skin as possible. The Dark Dimension, despite its name, is abruptly well lit. Light is energy, and where there is energy, there is usually life. If even a cell of photosynthesizing bacteria from the Dark Dimension was able to come here, rotated back to normal, it would be mirrored instead. But they wouldn't starve like the Fantastic Four. Not if they are photosynthetic. They could live off of just sunlight and water. In this world, they would thrive. And with its thriving, it could spread across the globe, displacing normal bacteria. This would cause the foundation of everything to be lost and inedible. Earth's entire food chain would crash. It would mean total global extinction for life except that mirrored bacteria. But with them burning all of this off, they pile into the car and they head out to Aunt Petunia's. When they leave, they didn't recognize that there was a small sliver of this bacteria that had landed in a nearby puddle. And that is when we see a bird making its way into that puddle. It begins to bathe in the water, taking in all that bacteria, the bird flying off. And Earth's extinction is now imminent. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. A relatively quick, but definitely a fun issue. Now, this isn't really moving our plot forward closer to the Fantastic Four children. I kinda have the feeling that they don't really know what to do with Franklin yet. They don't know what to do with the Fantastic Four children. Now, the last run, everyone was a little disappointed. That is because Franklin was essentially depowered, being one of the strongest out there, even comparable to some of the X-Men, some saying even far surpassing them. But it appeared within the final issues of the last run that Franklin had got his powers back. We don't know how long or to what extent, and it seems like they're gonna keep that very, very close to the chest, at least for the time being. Maybe they've decided that they don't really want Franklin to have powers. Maybe they just don't want to deal with any backlash of dealing with Franklin, that they just want to focus on the Fantastic Four and not necessarily on all the children. I say that because immediately getting into this run, we see that the children are all displaced for a year, which means we aren't going to see them for quite a while. Now, if Franklin does have his powers, there is a possibility that we could see them come back earlier. But before we can get into any of that, the Fantastic Four are about to deal with a catastrophic disaster. This bacteria starting to take over the normal bacteria that exists inside of Earth, that has been here from the very foundation of life. It is now in jeopardy, which means the entire world is now facing extinction if the Fantastic Four cannot come up with a way to stop this before it is too late. So let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with the Fantastic Four. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership, much like Patreon having multiple different tiers, from $1 to $50. From loyalty badges to getting comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are also getting tons of perks in the process. If you are unable to do that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.